Okay, we're going to give everybody about a 1-minute warning. We'll get started. Okay, good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to Archer Auditorium for the first annual Excellence in Education. So just for everybody that's out there, this is our first time doing this, so if it kind of looks a little wonky at times, it's perfectly fine. But there will be some ground rules this evening. When we ask those that we're honoring this evening to come up, you're going to find Amanda Durr. She's one of the most important people in this district. She's our payroll clerk. So when you see Amanda, we have these bags beautifully lined. There's some awesome prizes in there to honor you, but we want to make sure that you take the correct bag. That is Amanda's number one job tonight. But also, as our building principals talk about you and those things that you've done throughout your career, we've given everybody a time limit, so we are going to be very conscientious of your time this evening, but we want to make sure that you turn and face the audience because it's your moment. You've done this for a long time, so we want to make sure that we honor you. I will introduce myself. I hope I am known enough, but I am Steve Paramore. I'm the superintendent of Ashland City Schools, and it's my honor to be a part of this evening where we will be able to honor 42 staff members that have poured their heart and soul into the students, families, and most importantly, this community. I'd like to thank Ashland City Schools Board of Education members, President John Tevan, who is to my right, Pam Mowry, who is our board vice president, Gina Deppert, Brandon Wells, and Zach Truax, as well as our treasurer, Kyle Klingler, for their service to Ashland City Schools on a daily basis. I'd like to thank all of our members of our employees, our family members that came out this evening, and our family members that aren't with us this evening. Our media, if there's any media in attendance, I hope you write a really good story. This is going to be a special night. Thank you to Mayor Matt Miller for being here this evening to celebrate our educators and the great relationship that we have with the city of Ashland. Thank you to Colleen Horde, Chris Somsack, Rayleigh Crunkleton, Philip McNall, ACTA, and OPSI Local 233 for all your hard work that went into making this evening what you will see. A special salute to ACTA co-presidents Flory Mario Court and John Court as they've completed their term as ACTA presidents. So if we could give them a round of applause. I don't know if both of them are here. I know Flory is. And a huge arrow welcome to second grade teacher Molly LaRue, who is the new ACTA president. She is seated on the far chair to my left. We can't wait for all the good things that we'll negotiate. Education is certainly not for the faint of heart. And quite frankly, education is the most direct impact to the future of our great nation. The opportunity and ability to influence, educate, and nurture students is one of the most rewarding aspects of employment in the educational sector. Every day in our organization here at Ashland City Schools, employees make a difference at least in one individual's life. I guarantee you that, at least one person's life each day. But realistically, I know that all of you make a difference in the lives of more than just one person. Throughout the course of a day, our employees transport, feed, educate, counsel, love, listen to, and provide for 3,300 students and their families, regardless of circumstance. We meet the needs of everyone, no matter where they are ability-wise or demographically. We bridge gaps, we change lives, we get to be educators and leaders for our community. And we exist outside of our school buildings. We are parents, grandparents, coaches. We shop for groceries at Walmart. We stimulate the local economy. And we know how to live at the standard at which we've set. Our employees add value daily, and we're so proud of the work that they do. Tonight transcends just 1 week where we honor educators and school staff. Tonight we honor the life-giving mechanism that is education and learning. Ashland City Schools has a culture of excellence that is tangible. You can hear it, see it, touch it, and in some cases, smell it. This will continue for many years to come because of the legacy that has been set not only by these veteran employees that we'll honor this evening, but those that have educated in excellence before us, and those that are just getting started in the profession, which is not as many as there used to be, but we're going to work on some things at AU to get that going. Dr. Brad Johnson says school culture is not created by a mission statement on a wall. Most don't even know what it says. But school culture is created by the daily actions of everyone within the school. We get to honor 42 individuals this evening that for 30 plus years or more have made their daily actions a lifelong impact to a community and school district that continues to manage the most precious resource in our midst, students and families. On behalf of Ashland City Schools Board of Education and over 300 employees, thank you for your continued service. You are truly worth following. I would like to turn it over to our board president, Mr. John Tevan, for some remarks.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Well done. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the day, and it continues. Beautiful weather. Thank you, distinguished guests, and many others that made this happen. It's a privilege to serve on the school board on behalf of myself, Pam Mowry, Gina Deppert, Brandon Wells, and Zach Truax. Thank you for being here tonight. I thought I would just have some fun, and we'd talk about maybe 30 years ago. If you started teaching 30 years ago, believe it or not, do you know what Ariana Grande and Justin Bieber were all born that year? That's 1993, by the way, if you can do the math. And so was Jordan Spieth. I don't know if you know Jordan Spieth turned 30 as well. You probably remember that Bill Clinton was sworn into office, and Nelson Mandela was awarded the Peace Prize, and a blizzard hit the East Coast for the first time. This is all 30 years ago. Does anybody remember this, or is this? Okay, good. There's two of us. Thanks. My mom and dad are here. Michael Jordan walked away from basketball that year to pursue baseball. Hard to believe. I can remember my heart breaking, probably yours too as well. Do you remember Beanie Babies? Anybody still have any in a collector set? Or okay, maybe it's just me. Beanie Babies hit the market that year, and Whitney Houston declared, "I will always love you." That might have been the prom song in '93. Magna Doodles, the first Etch-a-Sketch came out. I remember riding on one on a plane saying, "Hey, that's my screensaver." I thought these were funny. Girls born in '93 were Jessica, Ashley, Sarah, Samantha, or Emily were famous names, were popular names back then. And also Michael, Christopher, Matthew, Tyler, or Joshua also rounded out popular names in '93. Hard to imagine that. So 35 years ago, if you started teaching 35 years ago, or kind of in that ballpark, Rihanna and Kevin Durant were born that year. Anybody heard of Kevin Durant? Bueller? Okay, good. The first, Steve mentioned Walmart, but the first Walmart Supercenter opened in Missouri. Can you believe that? The Supercenter down at the Walmart. It's just hard to believe. Microsoft sold their millionth mouse, and believe it or not, McDonald's opened up their 10,000th store. So that's a little bit of history. I thought it was intriguing, and it was going to be more entertaining than that. You remember the big screen TVs that were so big you could almost put I didn't want to say a child in, multiple people in. Those were going for about $3,000 a shot a piece to have them delivered. $3,000. Cal Ripken Jr., this is for you, John Walter. He played his 1,000th career baseball game. Is he here tonight? Seriously? Okay, wow. We're honoring John Walter, right?
He's truant.
He's truant. That's... Can't make this stuff up, people. That'll be probably called in. And in 88, also 35 years ago, the lights went on for the first time in Wrigley Field in Chicago. And that was the last Major League Baseball stadium to welcome lights. I'm almost done. 40 years ago, we have someone we're celebrating 40 years of education. Thank you for going above and beyond, staying in the mix, staying in the culture, whether driving the bus, serving food, listening to kids and their problems and issues, or teaching or being in administration. Sally Ride was the first woman to go into space in 1983, first American woman. And Mario and Luigi, they've got a movie out, believe it or not, their video game dynasty started in 83 as well with an arcade game. Some of you are going to have to Google arcade. It released in Japan. Carrie Underwood and Chris Hemsworth, also known as Thor, they were born. I'm almost done, Matt Miller. We're also born in 83. I'm trying to show is that culture, so much has changed, and yet the people are investing in the human capital in people's lives. That's what's going to last, and that's what's going to matter. Aaron Rodgers, Emily Blunt, Miranda Lambert, and Jonah Hill were also born. And Return of the Jedi, Star Wars Return of the Jedi, I saw that for the first time in the Ashland movie theater when it was open in the 80s. Anybody else see Return of the Jedi here? Okay, good, 2 of us. Okay, wow, thanks again for making the trip. I think I saw Titanic at the Ashland movie theater too, but I always thought the plot had a hole in it. It was just kind of weird. In 1983, other baby names were Jennifer and Michael. Believe it or not, Hot Pockets, Nerd Candy, and I didn't know this is my cologne, but Axe body spray all hit the market in 83, which I didn't know. And the last but not least, MASH, the TV series, ended up in 83, and that was the most watched TV show of all time. And if you haven't heard a lot of these, you can Google it or look it up on YouTube or TikTok. So tell you what, I want to say thank you to all of you that have made this happen. I know what the grind is to be in education, to start in August, September, and then to go through indoor recess, the setbacks, the sickness, all the different things, but to invest in kids' lives. I believe the 2 things are going to last in eternity is God's word and God's people. And so investing in people, that's what's going to matter, and I believe that's what makes Ashland great. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our mayor, Mayor Matt Miller. Would you give him a warm round of applause, Mayor Miller?
Thank you. So, 30 years ago, I was 16, and Dave Barr had just trained me to get my driver's license. So things were looking up in my world 30 years ago. Now, I'll tell you what, about 5 years ago, though, so this won't tax your memory quite as much, 5 years ago, at the city, for the very first time, we hosted our first ever all-employee annual meeting. And basically what this was is a meeting that would be very similar to what you'd find in a corporation these days, where they call all the employees together, everyone from the person who might be cleaning the bathrooms at night and emptying the trash cans to the CEO and everything in between. And we did this because we had a desire to unite the body of city employees, nearly 248 employees at that time, to unite all of us to pursue a single mission. And that particular day, as we gathered off-site and we had our number of inspirational speakers and reviewed what we'd achieved the previous years, we challenged everyone to help us become a city of excellence. We want to be a city of excellence, excellence in local government. And we went on to say, not only do we want to be a city of excellence, we want to be a city that sets the standard by which other communities our size measure whether or not they are doing a good job. Whether they are doing a good job providing services to their citizens, whether they're doing a good job in the area of economic development, whether they're doing a good job of establishing a high quality of life for their residents. That was our mission. And immediately after that meeting adjourned, everyone went to work doing their part, whatever little bit he or she could do, whatever I could do, to help achieve that higher standard, that standard of excellence for this great community. Well, let me tell you, over the last 5 years, something has happened. We've gone from a community where residents and citizens and even government employees would stand around and bemoan the fact of who we were, what we've lost, what stores were no longer on Main Street, how things had changed so much since the way I remember. We've gone from that place to being a city where everyone's excited to talk about what's coming next. This past weekend was a pretty good one with a brand new movie theater and over about 1,500 people showing up to see a movie that I didn't even understand when I watched it, having not seen Volume 1 and Volume 2. We've come a long ways in a short amount of time. And it's because we set our sights on becoming a city of excellence. And I'll add just this few more little anecdotes for you. Do you realize over in the last few years, and Brady, you need to hear this because you're an Ashland resident, but you're serving the great people of Richland and Mansfield. Let me tell you, we've had guests from Mansfield come to find out how it is we remove our snow and ice so efficiently when it comes during the wintertime and the kids can get back to school. We've had people come from Bucyrus and Crawford County wanting to know how we handle economic development because why are we moving forward so quickly at a pace that they can't seem to match? We've had people come and ask us if we'd administer the building code in their county because they like the way it's done here, and the contractors are saying it's much better here in Ashland than it is in other places. I can go on. We've had people from Bay Village, they've got a pretty nice place up there, call us and want all of the petunia varieties that we plant because they want to replicate it, and will we share the fertilizing philosophy or the formula. Here's the deal. We didn't do either one of those. We gave them the colors, but our friends at the Green Valley Growers have committed that they're not going to share those varieties, and they're also not going to share their fertilizer formula. The point of that story is when you focus on the details, you truly can, I hate to say achieve excellence, but you can move toward it. I have a quote in my desk that says, "We are on a course to achieve perfection. We know it's impossible, but somehow in the course of trying to achieve perfection, we know that we'll land on excellence. And we're trying to do it all across our community. And people are noticing." Today, the CEO of Norvatex North America, he lives in Germany. That's where that company is based out of. They employ 75 employees out in our industrial park. Today, he was in town for the first time in more than a decade. He came to the mayor's office because he wanted to come to the mayor's office because he wanted me to know this. He said, "I am blown away by what I see in the city of Ashland today compared to what I saw a decade ago." He says, "I can't get over all your cars and people on Main Street. I can't get over how clean everything is." And he said, "There's so many new buildings that weren't here the last time I was here." And he says, "This is just marvelous. I don't know what you all are doing in the city of Ashland, but this is excellent." That's an international endorsement as far as I'm concerned. And the truth of the matter is, the only reason why Ashland is being noticed, not only because of the new buildings and the new streets and the pretty flowers and all the rest, but is because our people's attitudes have changed about our great community. Our people see a future for this community, and they're willing to work toward it. I see some of the people in the top shelf back there. We were recently at a groundbreaking, and what did I say? We live in a community where we have all the resources necessary to build the place in which we want to live. No one will play a more important role in doing that than the people in our school system. Because the only way we can keep this city sparkling is if the people who live here, the young people who grow up here, the young people who go away to college and come back and stay here and develop their careers and lives here, are people of character and people of knowledge and people of skill and hopefully wisdom. And quite candidly, do you realize every time we go to sell Ashland, it's never a struggle when it comes to the school system. We can show them marvelous buildings, and we can point to all sorts of achievements by not only our teachers, but by our students. So on behalf of the people of the great city of Ashland, all 25,000 of us, I want to say a great big thank you for helping us in our effort to become a city of excellence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Miller. I want to thank you for all the cones you set up on Claremont, because now at lunchtime, central office staff plays F1. So however long that lasts, we're excited. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So this is the part where we begin honoring you. And so our ground rules are, if you would please come down to the front when I call your name, turn to Amanda. Amanda, raise your hand. Okay? And you're going to turn and face the crowd because we have some brief statements about you. I promise they're not incriminating. But we are very, very excited, and it is our honor to celebrate you for 30 plus years in a profession that not only changes lives, but literally changes a community and is every part of making Ashland great again. It's probably already there, so I don't know if we need to do it again. We just keep doing it. So our first honoree is Cheryl Budd. And also the ground rules are, depending on where you sat tonight, I'll start reading early as you walk down. So total years in education, Cheryl spent 33 full-time and 2 part-time. She taught 4 years in physical science and biology at Mansfield City, 1.5 years middle school science. I actually had Cheryl for 4 days, and then my schedule got changed. That's still tough to swallow. And 27.5 years of high school biology here at Ashland High School. And for the last 2 years, she has been the coordinator of assessment and school improvement. The highlight of her career is seeing her students excel in awesome and diverse science careers after graduation, and she is quite the agrarian. Every Monday or Tuesday morning, we have staff meetings at the city of, not the city of Ashland, our administrative offices, and we talk about how was your weekend, and it usually involves farming. So it's exciting. We're going to take a field trip to your farm someday. So, ladies and gentlemen, Cheryl Budd. All right, and you can stay standing for as long as you want. It is my understanding that John Walter is not in attendance. There is so much that I could say about John. And I will tell you there will be some anecdotes from my experience because I'm a younger individual, and the majority of the individuals that we're honoring this evening probably had a part in my education. So I'm not trying to make anyone feel old, but I have some experiences. John gave me ISD for a week for skipping class and going to the golf course. So you can put that 2 and 2 together. But in all seriousness, John's impact comes most importantly through the relationships that he creates. He's the perfect person for the role he plays here at Ashland High School. He is an administrator that understands that, yes, at one time he was a knucklehead as well. And he does drive a limited edition black F-150. So with that said, we will make sure that we get John his prize. He is a very humble individual and would probably be very uncomfortable being honored in front of all you. But you all probably have your own John Walter stories, so you can share those maybe via email to him. So, John Walter. Dr. Tammy Stevens. Tammy is currently our Assistant Superintendent of Student Services. She has 35 years in education. She started as a 3rd grade teacher at Elyria City Schools, and she was there from 1988 to 94. Title I teacher, 4th grade, from 95 to 99 here at Ashland City Schools. She was the principal of Crestview Elementary School from 2000 to 2011. She was the assistant superintendent at Mid-Ohio Educational Service Center from 2011 to 2014, and in 2014 became the assistant superintendent for student services here at Ashland City Schools. The highlight of her career is getting to meet all the different educators and people who have worked in the variety of districts that she's served in over the years. She's learned a lot, and she's grown as an educational leader throughout all of her experiences, and she has truly been blessed by the teams of people that she's worked with throughout her years. She is one of a kind. She is a tremendous leader, and we are lucky to have her for however long she's going to stay. Dr. Tammy Stevens. Mr. Tim Keller, also skirting the honoring. That's okay. Mr. Keller is currently a co-principal at Taft and Ashland Middle School. He is finishing year 33 in education. He was a 7 through 12 math teacher at Midview and Sheffield and Parma schools from 1990 to 98. From 1998 to 2000, he was the assistant principal for Parma City Schools. 2000 to 2006, he was the assistant principal at Ashland Middle School. 2006 to 2017, he was the principal at Taft. And from 2017 to the present, he is at AMS and Taft as a co-principal. He lists his highlight. When he came to Ashland in 2000, the city motto was, "Ashland was someplace special." I believe it still is, clearly. He found that the schools and the parents of Ashland had made this a special place. In his tenure, the Ashland family he's been impressed with the consistent focus on always putting ourselves out for what's best for kids. In his various roles across many buildings, his heart for kids is apparent, consistent and solid amongst the staff, both classified and certified. The highlight of working here is also how he was able to drop anchor. That's quite a metaphor, to drop anchor here. The people he works with motivate him to stay focused on the essentials, and it allows him to give his best. He sleeps well at night knowing that not only Mr. Keller, but those around him give their best for kids. When he says, "Always be arrow strong," he knows that's exactly what we mean and what he means. So, Mr. Tim Keller. Mrs. Manley, Miss Chris Manley is up on the stage, so Amanda's going to hand your bag up to you. Be careful, I know you have a bad foot. So this is Mrs. Manley's 33rd year in education. She taught and was an administrator with Worcester City, Jackson Local, Parma City, Tri-County ESC, and she is currently our principal at Edison Elementary. The highlight of her career was becoming a part of the Edison family. If you've had a chance to be at Edison, it is truly a family. There's no drama. She doesn't allow it. Regardless of what, we've seen some crazy days over there. But it is a great place to be. It's definitely in my hood, so I'm proud of Edison and proud of you, Mrs. Manley. So ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Manley. Mr. Steve McDonald is our next honoree. As you can see, Steve doesn't have much on the screen, so I digress with, I can say whatever I want. I would lead myself to believe that the highlight of his career was being my 7th and 8th grade social studies teacher and teaching me the preamble of the United States Constitution. Yes, no, we the people, no. In order to form a more perfect union, I feel like that's your motto. Good, all right. And that was in 93 and 94, so I don't know what the popular names were in 93, 94, but I feel like, yeah, Steve might have been one of them. Steve has assumed many roles. Another highlight of his career was when he didn't get told to, he got to be the principal at Lincoln Elementary and the alternative school at the same time. What a highlight. I know you miss those days. He has been the principal at Reagan Elementary, and he is currently the principal at Taft Intermediate with 33 years of education. He is known for running a very tight ship. Those are his hallways at Taft Intermediate. And above all, he's very committed to his staff and students, and you feel that when you go in the building. So, ladies and gentlemen, Steve McDonald. I think Steve's about a 6 handicap in golf. He is begging me to make all administrative meetings at 1333 Center Street. You can Google that. Next up, Mrs. Linda McKibben. Mrs. McKibben has been in education for 33 years, and I'd like to thank the Ashland City Schools Board of Education for rehiring Mrs. McKibben upon her retirement. So I think we signed another 10-year contract. Is that correct, Mrs. McKibben? Thank you. It's the first time ever. And she has been a teacher, a principal, and an administrator within Ashland City Schools. She did 17 years at Lincoln Elementary, Edison Elementary, and Montgomery Elementary. She was a principal for 3 years at Lincoln and Osborne, and has been the director of curriculum or deputy superintendent roughly 10 years, 3 years with the deputy in front. So we'll get her a badge eventually. So her career highlight in 2006, she was the Ashland City Schools Educator of the Year. So ladies and gentlemen, Linda McKibben. Our next honoree is Barb Phillips. Come on up, Barb. I'll start reading as you're walking since you sat a little bit further back. Barb has been with Ashland City Schools for 38 years. In March of 1985, that's when she started, I was 4. And the duties that she has filled, sorry, that's no shade. Duties that she has filled among many. She's been a cafeteria general worker, sub-custodian, OBI bus instructor. I want to recognize Barb for her long time as OPSI Local 233's president. Thank you for your service in that role. That is no easy job. You were born with thick skin and broad shoulders. That is no easy job, so thank you for your service there. The highlight of her career is the daily honor of transporting her most precious cargo, and that is the students that she serves in maintaining their safety to and from school. So, Ms. Barb Phillips. Thank you. Our next honoree is Laura Metzger. Laura has been in education for 36 years. She is the General Secretary, Auxiliary Services through Ashland City Schools at St. Edward's School. And so we thank you for all the work that you do at St. Edward's. And the reward of her, the highlight of her career is the sights and sounds of students through the years. I was delivering your invitation the other day, and I don't go into St. Ed's very often, but what a welcoming environment, and I'm sure you are a very, very important part of that. I'm sorry I didn't get to see you that day, but the folks that I talked to speak very highly of you, and I thank you for your 36 years of service and how you impact education. So thank you. Laura Metzger. Our next honoree is Raylee Bennett Crunkleton. Raylee has been in education for 35 years. She started at Madison High School between 1988 and 1995 as an attendance athletic office secretary. She started in Ashland City Schools July of 1995, and the positions that she's held at Ashland City Schools: secretary to the Director of Educational Services, secretary to the Director of Special Education, secretary to Assistant Superintendent, and the secretary to the Superintendent. I will give you sainthood for being Dr. Mara's secretary. That was no easy job. He's a highly respected individual, but you had a large task upon you, and you did it with grace. The highlight of her career has been and continues to be working with so many wonderful people over the years. She worked her senior year for Ashland High School athletic director and assistant principal, Mr. Everett Duvall. Upon graduation, this led to her job for the next 7 years at Madison High School. I think Ev helped get that job. In 1995, she received a call from Mr. Duvall that there was an opening at Ashland City Schools in central office. She interviewed with Mr. Jeff Patterson, and he offered her the position, and she's still here. Each time that Mr. Duvall and Raylee see each other, They joke that he's still waiting for commission as her hiring agent. So I do think that Mr. Duvall is here this evening looking for collection. And there's probably some other folks in this room that he's still waiting for you to serve a detention of some sort. But she, ironically, is now my secretary, and he would happen to be my father-in-law. So it's funny how the circle works. So she's extremely thankful and appreciative for being an Arrow. So thank you to Miss Raylee Bennett Crunkleton. Our next honoree, Mrs. Jan Miller, if you would come up, please. Jan is a library paraprofessional with us, and she's got 33 years in education. Jan has worked in libraries in many of our elementaries, both existing and those that don't exist anymore. She's known for being a committed, diligent, and caring employee, and she's super glad that we got rid of whatever that conglomerate was in her library that was supposed to be seats, but I think it was supposed to be bookshelves, but who knows what that thing is. So we were glad to get rid of that for you. So Jan, thank you for your years of service. And our last but certainly not least honoree from the classified administrative exempt employee area is Mrs. Jenny Krebs, if she would come forward, please. You'll stay there and raise your hand. Boy, that will draw some extreme attention. So, Jenny has worked for 31 years for Ashland City Schools, 7 years at Ashland High School, 7 years at Montgomery, 17 years at Edison Elementary in food service, and she's still there. The highlight of her career, meeting so many people and making lots of friends, has been an extremely high highlight in her life and in her time with Ashland City Schools, and she has absolutely always enjoyed her job. So, ladies and gentlemen, Jenny Krebs. I want to thank all of those individuals that I had the honor and privilege to talk about this evening. And I would like to turn it over to our head principal of Ashland High School, Mr. Josh Packard.
Good evening, everyone. I am fortunate tonight to be honoring 11 educators at Ashland High School. And as I look across these names, I realize that they are the backbone of the leadership and decisions and many, many, many of the good things that we take on here at Ashland High School. And I am so grateful and fortunate to have them in my building. And we'll follow that same format that Mr. Paramore has set out for us. So we'll start with Lene Baer. Lene, if you could come on down. It was fun to get to learn a little about some of my teachers, things that I didn't know. For example, Lene has 37 years in education. Some of those are with Montpelier High School and Gibsonburg High School and Little Miami High School and Granville High School. And I am so grateful that she settled on Ashland High School and found that as her home, because we are very grateful to have her. She serves as our department head for our career tech, which is a very large department, a very important department, but it's very diverse, and she's got to manage a lot of different things. She is one of the people who we always count on to be on our leadership committees. She's helped students with job shadowing, service learning, and life skills, which I know she feels really passionate about. I did not know that she had served as student government advisor, cheerleading advisor, and junior class advisor, and so I may be coming to you at some point, Mrs. Baer, since I know those things now. Again, we are so grateful and fortunate to have her, Lene Baer. Our next honoree is Neil Ebert. Neil, would you come on down, please? Neil graduated from Ashland College in May of 1978. What a great year. I was 2, Mr. Ebert. We can joke like that because we're friends. It's okay. He's not going to get mad. He started here in January of 1978, retired in 2008, and was in charge of music at the Kroc Center from 2009 to January 2021. He took over as band director again during the 13-14 school year, did some marching band for us in 2014, became our jazz band director again in fall of 2017 until present. Some of his highlights, Jazz Band A was selected to perform at the Ohio Music Educators Association in 1997. That is the only high school band selected that year to do so. I'm going to add in some things for Mr. Ebert, though, because if you've been to one of our jazz band concerts, you know how just absolutely phenomenal our jazz band kids are, and that's because of his influence. There is something inside of him where he is able to bring that love and joy for jazz out in our kids, and it just shines in every concert that we have. So, Neil, we are so grateful for your influence on our students. Congratulations. Mary Ellie Dawson is our next honoree. Come on down, Mrs. Dawson. Mrs. Dawson has 36 and a half years in education. She has served at Kelly Elementary School in Texas, at PSJA High School in Pharr, Texas, at Farragut High School in Knoxville, Tennessee, at Loudonville High School in Loudonville, Ohio, and found a home here at Ashland High School. And we are very grateful for that, Mrs. Dawson, that you stopped with us. She is our chemistry teacher and our department chair of the science department. And she has shared that one of her highlights is just that as a legal immigrant who has received a public education, she is proud of the way that she has reciprocated those opportunities given to her. As a wife and mother, she appreciates the support always given to her by her family. And as an educational professional, she values the input and encouragement of colleagues and friends. And what I would share with you about Mrs. Dawson is that is very true. The collegial part, she emphasizes that in her leadership of her department and just in this building overall. It's very important to her that we all work together for the betterment of Ashland High School. And we appreciate you very much, Mrs. Dawson. Congratulations. Our next honoree is Mrs. Nancy Boyer. Nancy, come on down. Nancy has 36 years in education, all with Ashland City Schools. She is our art department chair of K-12 visual arts. She's an art teacher here at Ashland High School. She teaches our 2D and 3D foundations classes, painting, ceramics, and advanced studio. She started half-time at Ashland Middle School in 88-89, and then full-time at Ashland Middle School and Ashland High School for about 15 years and has been with us at Ashland High School full-time since then. One of her highlights is that she looks forward to the many art shows that she's been a part of at Ashland City Schools and is so proud of the achievements of her students. She is proud of our art department as they have had a hand in developing our artists throughout the years. So if you are someone who does art in Ashland or in the Ashland area, in some way, shape, or form, there is a good chance that Mrs. Boyer has influenced you or has known or taught someone that influenced you. She truly does an amazing job of bringing out the artistic talent in our kids, and we are so very grateful for her. Congratulations, Nancy. Our next honoree is Mrs. Kate Long. Mrs. Long has 35 years in education as a secondary math teacher. She is currently teaching for us Algebra 1, Honors Trigonometry, Calculus, and AP Calculus. She taught for 6 years at Wellington School in Upper Arlington and has been here at Ashland High School 29 years. Some highlights of her career are getting to see her students power through challenging content and succeeding at something they initially thought was too hard. And I thought that was a great way to put it, because if you go up to Mrs. Long's room, she is one of the most encouraging people that we have in our building. And you might occasionally hear someone say, "I'm not a math person." Well, Mrs. Long makes sure that everyone knows when they come into her classroom, they are absolutely a math person and they have the power to do that. And she gives them that feeling. She sends them out of there believing that they can do those things. We are very grateful for you, Kate. Thank you so much and congratulations. Our next honoree is Mrs. Kim Rogers. I don't know if Kim is here tonight because I heard a rumor there might be a baseball game that she was attending. So I will talk a little bit about her. She is our Ashland High School business teacher. She's had 35 years in education. She also serves as one of our advisors for our mentoring program. She does our Learning Through Internships program. If you're familiar with cooperative office education, that morphed into Learning Through Internships, and she oversees that. Her first job was in Conneaut, Ohio. She also taught at Cato Meridian, New York, and Danville, Ohio. Her highlight: I've always enjoyed teaching many different business subjects and working with seniors in internship and job placements. I feel so passionate about our mentoring partnerships with Ashland High School and the elementary schools, and I'm so happy to be a part of that program. So if you know Kim, you know that she is absolutely one of the most positive, kindest, caring souls that has ever walked the earth, and couldn't be more perfect to help lead that mentoring program along with Ryan Briggs. She's really brought that along and helped develop it as they go into the middle school and our elementary schools. So congratulations to Kim. Even though she's not here, we'll give her a round of applause. Our next honoree is Mr. Chuck Benway. Mr. Benway has 32 years in education. He is currently teaching physical science for us at AP Chemistry and Physics. He taught at Lucas Local Schools from 1991 to 1997 and Ashland City Schools from 1997 to the present. And he has also moved on, and he teaches our college students at Ashland University as well as an adjunct professor. So he spreads his wisdom in lots of different places, and we're grateful for that. Some of his highlights: in 2007, 2008, he was selected as the Ashland City Schools Educator of the Year, which was exceptionally well-deserved. He is our Lunch Bunch co-founder. If you have been to Ashland High School in the last 15 or so years, you know what Lunch Bunch is. We have a lot of fun at lunch, and it's because of that gentleman right there. He brings a lot of joy to our kiddos and has brought them together and really, really helped Ashland High School in that way. He is also a Praxis 3 assessor, which, if you're not in education, that just means that Mr. Benway knows a lot about how education should go, and he helps us train the next generation up a little bit. One of the things that I most appreciate about Chuck is just the way that he shares his wisdom and his friendship with our staff, and how he is always an ear and a voice to our students when they need someone who is just kind and will listen, and it makes an enormous impact in their lives. Thank you so much, Chuck, and congratulations. Our next honoree is Ms. Bickley. Martha is a Spanish teacher for us, and she is our World Languages Department Chair. She has spent 31 years in education here at Ashland High School. She also spreads her wisdom to the college level and is an adjunct instructor with the University of Akron and with Cleveland State. Her roles include World Languages Department Chair and leadership roles on various committees through the years. She's been a resident educator mentor and assistant cross-country coach and the ACTA secretary. Some highlights of her career include traveling with students to the Cleveland Museum of Art and to Europe. And what I would add to that is, if you've ever traveled internationally with students, you know that that is not an easy thing to do, but we appreciate so much that Martha has done that several times with our students because she felt so strongly about bringing that experience to them. She served as a translator at different times for us and is really, really passionate about bringing out how important world languages is as a life skill to our students. That's something that she emphasizes every single day, and we are very grateful for her service here at Ashland High School. Thank you, Martha, and congratulations. Our next honoree is Mrs. Abby Hoffman, and I don't know, let's give her a round. I don't know if I see Abby out there tonight. I believe that baseball game may have gotten her as well tonight. So Abby has 31 years in education. She is an English teacher for us at Ashland High School. She's an adjunct instructor for North Central State College as well. She has done that through 2020 to the present. Ashland City Schools 2003 to the present, Loudonville Schools in the past, also Lakewood and Lexington. We're glad that she got away from that awful purple color at the beginning of her career. She got the right colors in the right school. Her highlights are: she's pleased when students tell her that her writing instruction has prepared them for college writing. And I can say that with confidence, we've had many students come back and tell us what a difference that taking her class has made to them once they've reached the college level. Abby's a very humble person. She also serves on several different leadership committees for us. She is extremely insightful. She's one of our building leaders and certainly an excellent teacher. We are grateful for her, and we'll give her one more round of applause here. Our next honoree is Mrs. Mindy Brogley. Mindy might be a fan at one of those baseball games tonight. So those caught a lot of our high school teachers. Mindy has 30 years here at Ashland High School. She is our English department chair. She teaches many different things in English for us. She's also one of our National Honor Society advisors. She's absolutely one of our building leaders and someone who takes her role in education very, very seriously as far as helping kids and helping us to be better at Ashland High School. I don't know, Mindy probably wouldn't remember this, but it speaks to her personality and who she is, because about 24 years ago, I think she was the person that gave me the building tour, showed me where my room was, showed me where some of my materials were, and got me pointed in the right direction. And she's been doing that, I think, at Ashland High School for folks for a very long time. So congratulations, Mindy. And our next honoree is Mrs. Deb Gallagher. Deb is a health PE teacher, and she is also our department chair in health and PE. She's got 30 years in education, and I frequently refer to her in the hallway as Coach Gallagher because that's how I first met her long, long ago. She, for many years, coached cross-country, indoor and outdoor track and field in 17 different years. In 2006, she was our Ashland City Schools Secondary Educator of the Year, and in 2011, she was the Secondary Physical Educator of the Year for the state of Ohio. She is also in our Ashland University Athletic Hall of Fame, Ashland University Alumni Award representing sports science. She's a mentor teacher here in Ashland City Schools. She's been a cooperating teacher with many of our student teachers who come through. She's a Red Cross volunteer and trainer. And some of our other highlights, she spent 7 years at Clear Fork and 23 years at Ashland High School. Deb is one of those people that you can always count on to go for advice if you need someone to help you think through something and make sure that it's well done and well thought out. She is who you go to because she has a wealth of experience and is great at sharing it and being one of our building leaders. So congratulations, Deb, and thank you so much. And at this time, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Ashland Middle School Principal, Mr. Jim Lindeman.
Thank you, Mr. Packard. Well, you know, for me, this is year 2 in Ashland City Schools and year 2 in an administrative role. So coming into the district, obviously everything was really new and you don't know what you're getting into. But one of the things that I saw right away with teachers was just how much they cared about kids and how serious they took their job from, you know, the curriculum and all that, but also just every day how much they poured into the kids. And why I bring that up is I think it's extremely important for that to happen, to have those veteran teachers lead the way. And we're talking about veteran teachers right now. And we're talking about teachers that have put in 30 years of service, 30 years of different students, 30 years of the changes and trends and styles and languages and everything. And they're still bringing it every day. And that's the thing that really has impressed me and makes me very grateful to be a part of the Ashland Middle School is not only our teachers as a whole, but the fact that we're going to honor 7 teachers today who, with 30 years of experience, still bring that energy, still bring that passion, and make the school a great place for the kids. So very thankful to be a part of that, and you guys deserve all the credit in the world for what you do. So let's start off with Mrs. Marlinardo. Mrs. Nardo is the 7th and 8th grade STEM teacher and 6th grade keyboarding teacher. Just some background on her. This is 36 years now for Mrs. Nardo in Ashland City Schools. Her current role is a STEM teacher for 7th and 8th grade students and keyboarding for the 6th grade students, and was a family and consumer science teacher for 28 years and then moved to the new middle school to become the STEM teacher. Her highlights was when she sees former students out and about and they tell her how they enjoyed her class and they made the projects that they had made. She enjoys when students tell them that her class was the only reason that they came to school. And she loves the visits from high school students who pop in and tell them how they're doing in high school. She loves the students who stop in every morning and say good morning to her as well. And I can tell you, the one thing that I really, truly appreciate about Mrs. Nardo, she's got a special visitor, is just the energy that she brings. Her laugh is infectious. It's something that just brings a lot of joy to the people around her. And she cares very deeply about her kids, and she's tough too. So I really appreciate that. So thank you, Mrs. Nardo. Our next honoree is Mr. Mark Reed. I don't think Mr. Reed is here tonight, but just a little bit about Mr. Reed. He's currently in his 34th year of education. 27 have been at Ashland. Again, in gathering some background, being new to the district, I do know that he had a very big influence on our science fair for quite a long time. He was very influential in coaching our Special Olympics programs that we had around here. He also, one thing I've really noticed and appreciated with Mr. Reed is he takes a lot of time to work with our MH kids, especially in the morning, greeting them as they come in and just making them feel really special as they start their day, and I know the kids really appreciate that. Another area that is close to my heart is he was a middle school intramural golf coach for many, many years, and having been a middle school golf coach from back in the day as well, you wouldn't think it, but it is a contact sport, and it's really, really scary. So he deserves a lot of credit for the work he did in that role. So he's not here, but thank you very much, Mr. Reed. Next up, we have Mrs. Laura Jordan. Mrs. Jordan is our 7th grade language arts teacher. This is her 33rd year in education. She graduated from Mapleton High School, the Ohio State University, and earned a master's from Ashland University. She's taught 7th grade language arts for all 33 years. And out of all my experiences, 7th grade is by far, I think, the craziest group of kids that you come across. So God bless you for that, Mrs. Jordan. She's coached Ashland Middle School football, basketball, and OCC cheerleading for over 15 years, and directed the Ashland Middle School play each year for nearly 20 years, and also co-chaired the Ashland Middle School Relay for Life team for 7 years, earning over $10,000 each year for the American Cancer Society. In regards to Mrs. Jordan, I think she's someone that is when you walk into her classroom, you know who's in charge, and the kids know who's in charge, and I know who's in charge. So when you walk in there, you have a great appreciation, but she does that because of her ability to connect with those kids, and that's what has given her the ability to do this for 33 years and to do it really, really well. So, Mrs. Jordan, thank you so much for what you do. Next up, we have Mrs. Amy Valentine. Mrs. Valentine is a 6th grade math teacher. She has 32 years in education. 1989 through 1991, she was at St. Mary's School in Mansfield and was a preschool and kindergarten teacher. 1991 to present, she's been at Osborne, Edison, Taft, returned to Osborne, and then went to the middle school, taught every subject along the way, and she also had 4 babies sprinkled in here and there along her career path as well. In terms of being around Mrs. Valentine, you know, the one thing that I've always appreciated about her is just her steady presence. It's something that every day she brings into her classroom, she brings into meetings, she brings to the staff around her, and you can just feel that steadiness from her every day, and it's an anchor that we have on our 6th grade floor, and it's an anchor that we have in our school, and it's something that I think really just gives people a calmness when you're around her, and I really, really appreciate that with Mrs. Valentine. She's also a coach's wife, which deserves all the credit in the world as well. So thank you, Mrs. Valentine. Next, we have Mrs. Valerie Carper. Mrs. Carper is a 6th grade intervention specialist and co-teacher in the English Language Arts Department. She has 31.25 years in education as a special education teacher, and she is retiring here this June. Currently a 6th grade intervention specialist, that I had said. 1982 to 1985, she was at Colchester High School in Illinois. And then also was a special education teacher during that time as well. 1986 to 1989, she was part of the Dayton County Board for the Ohio Special Education Program Coordinator. 1998 through 99, she was tutoring at an alternative school here at Ashland City Schools. 1999 to 2001, she was at Osborne Elementary as a special education tutor and also at Montgomery Elementary. And 2001 to 2023, she is at Ashland Middle School as a intervention specialist, where she's currently at. I think one thing that has really impressed me with working with Mrs. Carper is, as she stated, she is retiring here in June, and that's something that, across the building we're going to feel because of her energy and her enthusiasm. But the thing that I've really been impressed is sitting in meetings, you would not think that she was stepping away here in 3 weeks. The way she speaks about her students, the way she continues to plan, to think ahead for them, is just a true indicator of what type of educator she is and how much she really, really cares about her kids, because even though she's walking away from the profession, there's no way she's walking away from her kids. So I know they feel that every day, and we're going to miss that, Mrs. Carper. So thank you. It went out of order. We have, next up, Mr. David Chapman. Now, I got a little bit of a blank slate like Mr. Paramore got with Mr. McDonald, but, in my 2 years of experience with working with Mr. Chapman, I think one thing that from his classroom I've appreciated is he's really tried to work with some of our kids that struggle to make it through the day. There's a couple individuals that, starting out the year, struggled in Mr. Chapman's class, but by the end of the year had turned, and Mr. Chapman had them on task, working and really trying to do their best in his class, and it speaks to his commitment to do that with those kids. Mr. Chapman's worked in a multitude of different areas and content. He runs our intramural basketball program, which I think is a great outreach for our kids, and it's a chance for some of our kids who may not be involved in the team sports to be a part of something that makes them feel good. And Mr. Chapman runs it like a practice. So I think one of the things that made me laugh is when they come back the next day and tell me that he made them run laps because they weren't doing what they're supposed to do. So he's getting after them. And then speaking of safety hazards, I don't know how many years it is, but Mr. Chapman does run our archery club at the middle school. So, it's good you're still standing here after 30 years, Mr. Chapman. So thank you for everything you've done. Finally, we have Mrs. Heidi Obrecht. Mrs. Obrecht is our 6th grade social studies teacher. On June 2nd, 2023, she'll have a total of 33 years in education, and she'll be retiring as well. And as she put it, moving on to the next stage of life, whatever the good Lord has prepared for her. After being a part of the music and musical side of life at Ashland High School, she graduated in 1986 and attended Ashland College in December 1989. That same month, began subbing and was able to sub in a variety of local districts. She's taught preschool through 8th grade in just about every building in Ashland City Schools: Grant Street, Lincoln Elementary, Edison Elementary, Pleasant Street Elementary, Taft Elementary, Montgomery Elementary Intermediate, I'm going to take a deep breath, Osborne Elementary, Ashland High School, and Ashland Middle School. So I think in every, did I name them all? Is that about all of them? Okay. And what I would say about that is, speaking of energy, speaking of enthusiasm, the fact that she's worked in that many buildings and brought that type of energy and enthusiasm into each of those buildings are far better for it. Mrs. Obrecht is someone who, again, brings that energy every day, doesn't let up on kids, pushes kids. Just a part of a meeting the other day where, like I said, she's 3 weeks away from walking away, and she's really doing everything she can to help kids get to the finish line. And truly appreciate that energy that she brings. And she's another person that I think, from a teaching standpoint, the teachers are going to miss that energy that she brings, and the building's going to miss it. So thank you, Mrs. O. I'm sure there's probably some KISS tours out there that you're going on, some softball tournaments. All right, that is it for Ashland Middle School. We are now going to turn it over to Mrs. Chris Manley from Edison.
All right, I have the honor to say a few things about 4 amazing coworkers at Edison Elementary. And the first one, I think this is kind of cool too, is Teresa Thomas, who is the sister of Heidi Obrecht. So Teresa teaches kindergarten at Edison. She attended Edison Elementary as a child, and she actually has taught 2 times now in rooms that she was a student in, so that's fun fact. Another highlight for Teresa is getting a chance to work alongside her mother, Pat Hildebrand, at Edison. Every year, prior to school starting, Teresa makes home visits to all of her students, which goes way above the call of duty, but gives her that little insight on her kids coming every year, and for that, I'm very appreciative. You can see everywhere she's been, and she's had 36 years of teaching, which I admire as well. I'm a few years short, but she is a great educator and comes every day to love on her kids, and I thank you for your service, Ms. Teresa Thomas. The next educator I could give a little dirt on because we went to Ashland University together, but I'll save that for her retirement party someday. But Betty Chapman, "33 years in education." Again, you can read everywhere she's been and what she's done, but she is an amazing first grade teacher. The year that Ashland City Schools decided to take her from PE to first grade was the best gift they could have ever given an Ashland City School student. She pushes her kids in the classroom like she did as a coach on the field or the court. Her students know that she loves them, but they also need to know they have to read and write before they leave her. A highlight for Betty is getting to work with amazing colleagues and students. She will cherish all the memories alongside her educational journey. Betty Chapman. Carol Kinney. Carol Kinney has so much passion for her profession and the Ashland City Schools. She is one of the strongest women that I know. She brings music to life every day in her classroom by incorporating movement, dance, singing, and the ever so popular playing the instruments. A highlight for Carol is when a neighbor gave her family an upright piano when she was younger, and that her parents gave her so much support in everything that she did. Carol also attended Edison Elementary as a student. Carol Kinney. Personally, I think the best people went to at least Edison a couple of years when they were kids. Last but not least, Debbie McNaugh. In Debbie's 30-plus years, she's gotten around Ashland City Schools. But this lady, as you know, is the original Energizer Bunny. She constantly is on the go, physically and mentally. I don't believe she ever sleeps. Debbie is passionate about reading and learning. She is constantly researching to make anything better. God knew what he was doing when he put Debbie at Edison. Debbie's highlights are getting to work in every building, both standing and not standing, in the district, except for the old middle school and the high school, but she got to go there as a student. Debbie also has helped the district receive more than $1 million in grant money. My friend, Debbie McNaugh. And next, it's Mrs. Brody from Reagan.
Good Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out tonight. I have the pleasure of introducing three amazing women. The first person I'm going to introduce is Lori Williamson. Lori has 35 years in education, grades kindergarten, third, and now currently Reagan's literacy coach. She has taught at many of the buildings at Ashland City: Edison, Osborne, Grant Street, Taft, and Reagan. The highlight of her career has been creating a lifetime of friendships, watching students grow, encouraging others, and being blessed and encouraged by others. I asked all three of these ladies, what is some advice you would give yourself that first year of teaching? So Lori has got 5, technically 6 points that she would give herself. Her first one: not everyone who wants to help will be a helper. Remember that everyone has an unheard story that may be affecting them. Don't be afraid to create your own good and share it with others. It may be just what one person needs. Find your people and hold them close. Even if they are outside of the school day, you should always feel valued. Growth happens over years, not days, so give yourself grace. And the last, most important one, she would say, is eat your vegetables. Lori Williamson. The next amazing woman I would like to introduce is Karen Carlisle. Karen has grown up in school with a family full of educators. She has been teaching for 33 years in grades 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. 5 of those years were at Lucas Elementary, and the rest were at Ashland City, being at Lincoln, Taft, and then Reagan. The highlights of her career have been seeing students learning and grow and always hearing from those past students. Her advice for herself that first year of teaching would be to pick your baby names now. After teaching a while, you'll begin to run out of names you want to use. Karen Carlisle. The next person I would like to introduce to you is Doreen Johnson. Doreen has 31 years teaching grades 1st, 2nd, 5th. She also has 2 years as an educational technologist. She currently is teaching 2nd grade. She has taught at Osborne, Taft, and Reagan. The highlights of her career have been meeting students' families and being a part of their lives. She loves when students write to her because students and families feel like an extension of her own family. Her advice she would give herself the first year of teaching would be, don't sweat the small stuff. Be firm and model what you want the students to do. Don't just assume they know. Doreen Johnson. And now I will turn it over to Mr. McDonald from Taft.
All right, last but not least, let's see who we got here. We've got, first up, Mrs. Karen Ebert. Karen worked at South Central Amherst, a couple of different places, Ontario Discovery School, before coming here in 1995 and becoming part of the royal couple of Ashland Music with her husband, Neil. 2 amazing people that have had such a profound impact on our music program. Karen is most proud of incorporating literacy into her music program, and she does an amazing job making music fun for kids, too. So amazing stuff. She was once nominated for the Ohio Lottery Teacher of the Month program. So Mrs. Karen Ebert. Our favorite Kansas City Royals, nope. New York Yankees fan, no. Chicago White Sox fan, Mr. Chris Stokes. He changes teams quite a bit. We're glad he's been on our team since 1998, coming here from Northwestern Schools and coming here as head basketball coach. Chris is proud of all of the impact that he's had on his students, and in a basketball team that was a very special group in 2002 that made it to the Elite Eight, just a game away from the Final Four. But Chris has done an amazing job, a very flexible member of our team, very helpful in everything we need him to do around the school. We're very appreciative of all the impact that Chris has had through the years. Mr. Chris Stokes. Chris was also an assistant coach in several colleges, too. College of Worcester, Ashland University, and the Harvard of the Midwest, Youngstown State University. Go Penguins. Got to get in a plug for the alma mater here, you know. All right, next up, 33 years in teaching, much longer than that at Taft, Mrs. Karen Cole. Karen's highlights of her career are working with amazing people and wonderful teachers and having her grandchildren in her class at Taft. It's been a wonderful thing. Karen has the claim to fame of attending Taft along with her husband, Jim, and several of her family members, so Taft is in her blood for sure. I can honestly say that some teachers can limp to the finish of their career. I don't think Karen Cole has ever been a better teacher than she is today. Simply outstanding at what she does. Thank you, Karen. This next teacher also didn't write a whole lot for us. Mrs. Julie McDonald, did I say that right? Julie McDonald. She didn't write a highlight, so I'll give it to you. 2009, she married the most amazing, wonderful, handsome man. This fairy tale would continue to evolve when that magnetic, energetic building leader came to be her principal, so he could remind her 24 hours a day how she is the luckiest woman on earth. Julie is yeah, you're welcome. Julie is somebody who has been a literacy coach in Georgia and in Ashland City Schools, an amazing literacy mind. She was asked to teach science 5 years ago and had never taught science before. I'm happy to report she is the fun, upbeat, crazy science teacher. She calls herself a weirdo for loving science as much as she does and making it so much fun for kids, Mrs. Julie McDonald. Next time, she's going to write a lot more. The last but certainly not least member is a former teaching teammate of mine, Mrs. Sue Boland. Sue was hired at our middle school in 1995 and taught 8th grade science for a number of years. Also works in 4th grade, has taught many subjects across 4th and 5th grade for us, and is currently a teacher at Taft Intermediate School. Sue is a very supportive teammate and does a wonderful job. And the highlights of her career, she says, are working with so many talented teachers and administrators throughout the years, making memories at each of the buildings that she's been. Thank you, Sue, for all you've done. And at this point, I turn it back over to Mr. Paramore. Who's going to recite the preamble?
No, I'm not. Okay. I'm going to take the mic for just 1 minute. Molly, you can put the timer on. Thank you, everyone, for being here. This was our first year to do this. ACTA, OPSI, I want to thank you for the idea. It's not always easy narrowing it down. Obviously, we honored many this evening as former educators of the year, and sometimes that becomes a very difficult decision when you have so many employees that do extraordinary things here at Ashland City School. Please understand, and obviously this is a small smattering of our employees, but the impact and the value that you bring to this community is not measurable. I felt like I was doing really good tonight until Chris started talking, then I started crying. So I'm never prepared, never bring Kleenex. I'll learn one of these days I probably need an accommodation, or I need it probably chunked or scaffolded to make sure I do those things. But I want to thank all of you for making time this evening to be here to honor these individuals that mean so much to our organization. It is an honor to lead beside all of you. I don't consider myself the boss. My bosses are kind of spread out around here. I suppose you too, Mr. Miller. But I truly feel like you are all colleagues that I look up to, that I admire, and that I'm proud of how you impact our students. So thank you. I'm going to say this now because I'm going to let Molly do a phenomenal closing as the new president. It's just what the new president of ACTA has to do this is the first time we've ever done this. But don't forget, go Arrows. Molly?
I just have to say that I really was not sure what to say tonight in closing, but as I've sat here, and again, I got emotional as well because as I listened to all the administrators speak about all of you wonderful administrators and support staff and teachers, I'm sitting here thinking there are a few of you that were my teachers in high school, Mrs. Boyer, Mr. Ebert, and I believe that's it for high school. And then Mrs. Nardo was my 7th grade home economics teacher. And I just want to say I'm honored to be a part of Ashland City Schools and to be a graduate of Ashland City Schools as well. And I want to thank everyone for being here. I'd like to thank our Educator of the Year committee, which kind of turned into Excellence in Education now. I think Flo, I think you had the first Flo and Brian Fennel for the first idea of this, supporting more of our teachers, because it is extremely hard to narrow down year after year. As being the chair of the Educator of the Year committee for several years, it's hard to just pick 2 people every year. So thank you all for everything that you do daily, and thank you everyone for coming tonight. Please enjoy the reception. Thanks.
Thank you, Molly. We have refreshments. Ohio Fire has generously provided pizza out in the lobby commons. So we please encourage you to join us out there. If you want to take photos up on the stage, feel free. It's yours. Come on up. So thank you for being here. Have a great rest of your week.